Good evening. A musician who was assaulted and racially abused by police officers says he's disgusted that none of them will face disciplinary proceedings. Don Lorenzo was arrested at his Birmingham home in 2007 by officers responding to a 999 call. But a police watchdog says so much time has passed since then that misconduct proceedings against 8 officers have been dropped. Giles Latcham reports.
I was grabbed around the throat, and then the officer that was standing with Kaya come and punch me in the face.
Donville Lorenzo recalls the day in November 2007 he was assaulted by police at his Edgbaston flat. He and his 15-year-old daughter Kaya had argued about whether she should be in college. She angrily called the police and they responded to what they thought was an assault.
Bumping my head against here and going down and thinking, what the hell?
She tried to tell them they were no longer needed, but her father was kicked, punched and manhandled down 5 flights of stairs.
If I was a contortionist, it would have been okay. My arms, my legs, I was being punched. I had handcuffs around my back, and my arms would be, and it was just unreal.
At Bourneville Lane Police Station, he says there was more rough treatment and racial abuse before he was deposited naked in a cell.
I am not anti-police. Most police officers I have met are good people. You know, fair play to them. They have a hard job and a difficult job. But this is about telling the truth, looking at faults and failures and dealing with them.
Mr. Lorenzo, a drummer and former roadie, brought a civil action against the police and was awarded £17,000 compensation. The police took it to an appeal, but the High Court found in his favour. In October 2016, a long investigation by the police watchdog, the IPCC, found that disciplinary proceedings should be brought against 8 officers and a civilian member of staff. Now it's emerged that its successor, the IOPC, has decided to discontinue those proceedings.
The Independent Office for Police Conduct says the decision to drop proceedings is because of what they call significant legal issues, chiefly the passage of time. Mr. Lorenzo says he's been trying to hold the police accountable for the best part of a decade, and the delays are not of his making.
Between all of these organisations, they've made this thing last 10 years. We want good policemen. You know, we want policemen that we can go up to and trust and know that, you know, anything that's taking place, they will give a fair account of what's happened. And that hasn't happened. And nobody has been made accountable for it.
And Giles is outside Bourneville Police Station now. Giles, I think people will be wondering why we haven't heard in person from anyone at West Midlands Police or indeed the Independent Office for Police Conduct. Yet we have been pushing them to come on air tonight, haven't we?
We have indeed. We asked the police for an interview. They gave us a statement in which they said that their own internal professional standards department had carried out its own investigation and found no evidence that Don Lorenzo had been either physically or racially abused. We asked the watchdog, the IOPC, for an interview. Again, they gave us a statement in which they apologised for the nearly 4 years it took them to investigate these matters. What appears to have happened, Nick, is that lawyers have argued successfully that to bring these proceedings so long after these events would amount to a so-called abusive process, that they would simply be wrong and unfair.
OK, so where else now can Mr. Lorenzo turn?
Well, interestingly, there's been a statement tonight from the Police and Crime Commissioner, David Jameson, whose job it is, after all, to hold the police to account. And he says he finds it worrying that this investigation wasn't concluded. He understands Mr. Lorenzo's frustration and he's offered to meet him and to raise his case with the Chief Constable. I think, as much as anything, Don Lorenzo, whose life's been blighted by this, wants an apology. But after years of court cases and investigations costing tens of thousands of pounds of public money, that still seems a fairly distant prospect.
Giles, thank you. An MP's